I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All The Mons. Last episode here in Rocket Labs, I built an AE system, or the start of an AE system, I should say, with auto-crafting functionality and the ability to make just about anything from AE in the future. And now, while I do have a quarry that's up and running and is doing its quarry thing, I would really love to expand on our resources. And this is where mystical agriculture is going to come into play today. Things are about to get kind of wild. We're going to start producing a ton of different resources from a ton of different mods. And today I do plan on taking on a few more bosses and hopefully getting our mons leveled up even further. Believe it or not, over the last few years, I have been utilizing a system that allows us to grow mystical agriculture crops. And it started a long time ago. I have been using this setup as far as I can remember, all the way back with FTB Evolutions, like I was streaming it a long time ago. And so what I want to do here is I want to take our applied energistics, now that we got it set up, and use that to grow our mystical agriculture crops. Now, with as early into the pack as we are currently, there's not a whole lot of options that we have for tick accelerating mystical agriculture resource crops. One option would be lily pads, but in this pack, lily pads have been made a little bit expensive. You do need the Nature's Aura steady growth. That is something that does require a little bit, not too much though, just the ritual here. But you also need Fertile Essence, which does require all of these particular mobs to be farmed. And you also need all of these individual resources. Catalyzing glands are a little hard to get when you don't normally see regular creepers. Because our mob farm's underground, our regular creeper spawning has not happened. However, we do have quite a few slime pearls and also rib bones. But there is another recipe that we could use, and I love how it's integrated in here with mystical agriculture, and that is by using vibranium plates and doing this recipe. And lilies of fertility are really fast if you set them up correctly. Way faster than the setup we're going to be working on today. But this setup that I'm about to work on is going to require a bit of space and is going to produce it at a pretty reasonable pace. Very reasonable. So while we're out exploring, doing other things, it just keeps producing, and before you know it, you have more resources than you're probably ever going to need. And anytime you're going to need more essence, well, there's other ways we can farm that down the road. So before we even set up anything for mystical agriculture, let's talk about the things we are going to need to grow things for mystical agriculture. One is going to be the crystal resonant generators. I am going to want to automate those and make sure we can craft those. And then we're also going to want the same thing we're using to grow our crystals, the growth accelerators. We want to make sure we have recipes for those. Sorry, real quick, I wanted to catch this Pavilion. For some reason, it's really nice looking. It has pink wings. Like, what? I don't think I've seen one like that, and I've seen a lot of mons. But anyways, back to planning. So I do want to put these mystical agriculture farms inside of these rooms, and I want to have more than one of them. So I am going to need a little bit of space. These farms, I do know, by default, take up an 11 by 11 space when fully optimized. So if you are utilizing them even on the outer plants. So we need to think about this. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is an 11 by 11 that we have right here. And so a way we can test this and figure out the size of a room that we may want is by placing down a builder. Yet again, utilizing this builder. And then in here, I have a cylinder set to hollow or actually set to solid. And what I want to do is I want to set a size and make sure the vertical is only 1. So 23 by 23, I think is a good starting size. Let's see if this is going to work or not. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for how close the farm is, because it's going to be a square. How close is it going to be to the outer edges? And how small is this farm going to look? So let's see, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I mean, we are setting pretty close. So I'm just trying to get a perspective of what this room is going to look like. Let's say we walk into this room. I don't want it to feel too claustrophobic, and I actually want to put rings on the outside that have some lights, and I want to make this kind of cool looking. So I do need enough space to do that, and we will have machines right here on the corner. So I think 23 might actually be enough space. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks out on the side and giving me like at least 2 blocks out here. I think this is going to work. Now, as far as the height go, 12 is about as high as I want this to go. But it is going to have to be raised up from the base here, just depending on where we place this. Because the room here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 touching this top piece. I mean, with this in it is going to look kind of shallow at that size. So now for the fun part, getting this set in. Okay, I think we are just about ready. I'm going to do like -14 because I want the blue part to be sticking out right here. Perfect. Okay, now let's make sure the Y level is fine. Let's try 7. We want this to be like the exact floor level. So yes, 6 was right. And that I think is actually it. So all I have to do now, because it is a void card, we just have to give it a lever. I really like this void card, by the way, if you couldn't tell. And no coming back. Yeah, this is where you probably should make sure that, yeah, when it's highlighted, nothing is actually happening. And it's not voiding your base. But it is voiding everything that is inside there, which I can't actually see happening. There we go. But that is a good amount of space we're clearing out. Now, because we got our applied energistics set up, there is something really cool that we can take advantage of. We have the ability to link our building gadgets, yes, to our applied energistics system. So if you place your building gadgets in, it will now be able to pull items from the storage. So I have all of this stone in my storage and I want to actually start building with it. Well, I can select stone now and I can start to fill this all in and it pulls it right out of my storage. Now, I'm still trying to come up with like an idea for this. I got the roof placed in, which I'm using polished cut limestone. So I'm utilizing some limestone into this surrounding the outer ring. And this is where the design is coming into play because I want to make sure this room is nice and bright. So I am using some simply lights here with some edge lighting and placing this underneath to give this a nice outer glow. So after getting it on the roof, you can now start to see where playing around with light is really fun. Now for the middle, I think I want to utilize some anti-blocks, or in this case, Luminex blocks in this pack. And this is going to be the middle. Oh, that looks sick. This emits light and also is just this really crazy looking contrast piece. I mean, and this just looks super futuristic. Now, speaking of futuristic, I wonder if I could use maybe some shafts from like Create and utilize some of these girders. Like I bet that we can make this work. So if you take girders like this and you place a shaft in them, this gives us a piece like so. Then we can maybe use some illuminate rods to connect up like this. That kind of looks like a hanging light. You know what? Honestly, not half bad for like some sort of central light. Okay, so now that the room is done, I kind of want to use this room also on the other side. So I do want to make a copy of it. And just like our other building gadgets, the copy paste gadget can also read the information from our applied energistics system. So the hardest part is going to be just simply lining this up and making sure that we can get this whole area covered for the copy. The best way I would find to do this is to go into the settings after you set your distance and kind of keep poking at this until you get it to move in the correct position. So for example, right here, I want this to go all the way out until it covers this area. And then I can start expanding it until it goes out of view. And now the entire area has now been selected. And now I just need to focus on adjusting the Y value. Now, when we go to paste it in, I've just got to line the thing up, make sure to anchor it in position so that way we can start to set this exactly where we want it. Thankfully, we have all of these areas to sort of line it up to. And so we'll push it back until right there. And I think that that is the exact position that we want it to be in. And then when we think we have it correct, we can set it to replace blocks to make sure it hollows out the area. Make sure nothing else is nearby, and then click. And what it should do is any of the air spots it's going to get rid of. But because we have this set in a way where it can pull from our AE system, it should pull all of our stuff into here. If we're missing anything, though, we can simply right-click it again after we found out what we are missing. So yeah, it looks like some edge lighting was missed. So I went ahead and clicked that. You can see all the edge lightings now going in. And there we go. The only thing left is placing in the things that it has a hard time placing in. For example, the girders with the shafts in the middle. Now this feels really nice. Now we have these really beautiful rooms that we can put this mystical agriculture farm in, which by the way is going to look rather futuristic, especially since it's going to carry on this texture right here. So let's design this farm. First part about this farm is it just works off of a regular crop, a regular 9x9 crop. So you have water in the center, 1, 2, 3, 4 off of each side, and then you just simply fill this in. So we get all of the farmland in. We can just simply hoe the entire thing. But now here's where things get kind of interesting. I'm going to want these crystal resonant generators to take up some space. And so these are actually going to take up a little bit of space here. So there's going to be one here, 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 and here in a checkerboard pattern. And a pretty easy way that we can maintain this checkerboard pattern and we can start to place these in is by placing a resonant generator upside down like this. And then we can use the exchanging gadget to exchange a resonating generator into this block's place. I mean, we do need the resonant generator before we can do that, but yes, I can actually exchange this facing that direction, which is going to make it really easy to get this set up and get it in place. Once we have that done, this is just going to go directly on top and is going to face like this. And this is what grows mystical agriculture crops in any crop pretty quickly. And you can see a little bit about this information right here. It shows that it can grow Certus quartz and quartz and all that stuff, crops, and even saplings. We can't forget this line, 90 times faster than normal with just one, by the way, and the effects do stack additively. But there are some other fun things that we can actually do to make this thing grow it even faster than 90 times. We can apply something called red fertilizer. And when red fertilizer is applied, for some reason, it causes the effects to happen even faster. Notice how fast it is growing this wheat. And this is one of the few things that actually affects mystical agriculture because regular bone meal effects don't work. Now, I know you may be wondering, Chosen, why have you placed the crystal resonating generators down on the bottom instead of on top? And for that, I will say it makes the crop a little bit darker inside of here when those are there. So it will kind of hinder you and you will need a little bit more light if you do plan on doing that. And also, why am I not using cables and using crystal resonant generators? Cables are surprisingly a pain to place in because the exchanging gadget, the building gadget, the wand, they don't actually work with them. So yes, you can actually copy this whole thing and paste it in. Unlike doing it the other way with cables. You'd have to hand place every single cable. Before we even make our first mystical agriculture seed, let's just continue placing this in. Like I said, it's just going to be in a checkerboard pattern, and we also want to extend out one from this area. And this is what makes this need to be an 11 by 11. Oh, and by the way, if you were wondering how many resonating generators and accelerators need, 60 of each to cover this entire farm. And now you can start to see why this is looking very techy and why I wanted a room like this. And I know I mentioned using the gadgets, but yeah, here we go again. If I go to copy and I right click this area, right click and shift right click on this side, I mean, I can just simply copy the entire thing, which I think is going to be perfect. So we can copy the whole section, and we can just paste it right in over here, getting it lined up exactly right there. Anchor it into place, move it up one. And that's exactly where we want it. And all we have to do is have the ingredients, right click, and it places everything in for us. Now I got the farms up and running, but nothing to farm just yet. So we are going to need to get into mystical ag. So I added me a little room down here to set up the altar that allows us to make all of the mystical agriculture crops. And so this does need a little bit of space. That's why I added a little room down here. And yeah, we can technically automate a little bit of this. And while I can use pipes, I might as well utilize modular routers because it'll be clean and make this look so much nicer. Now for this very simple automation utilizing modular routers, the way we're going to get started with this is by utilizing the puller upgrades. So if we place in some modular routers, let's say this one is sending the actual product, then we have this one over here sending essence. Then we have this one sending the seeds, and then we have this one receiving. We kind of can have an understanding of what everything needs to do. These all need to initially pull items into its buffer slot. So for this, we will use a puller card, and we'll make sure we define it to pull from the bottom. When these go in, we'll be able to see that this is going to do that exact thing, pull the items into the buffer slot. Now for these two, we want it to distribute items. And so this is where the distributor card is going to come into play. And we want to set it by default to transfer out of the router. That's going to be perfectly fine. And each one of these are going to have their own defined locations. So let's define this side. We'll go ahead and we'll say this is the side that we want to work on. So we'll shift right click and we will say, place into these 4. And that's really all we have to do. It's going to automatically now take these items that are in there and place it into the 4 sides. So over here, we can put the essence in, do the exact same thing, and we'll say, hey, work here, here, and here. And make sure we actually set the sides correctly. There we go. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the top. It just looks nicer. Or you have OCD. It's probably the second one. But just as we would expect, we put the items in and it's going to distribute those items out. Then over here, we want this to pull, which it's already doing, but we want it to send items. And to send wirelessly as a single card, we use a sender Mark II. And we can just say, hey, same as the other one, we just can't set multiple locations. We place this in, put the seed in, and we'll notice the seed gets pulled out and thrown out here. And it's at this point that the seed would technically craft. However, this is going to need some redstone. So just a regular redstone block is what I like to put under here. Like this, to give it a solid redstone signal. And once that happens, it's crafted. But it is going to leave the seed. So the seed is now setting here and, well, we got to do something with that. So I want to pull the seed out and I want this to be the return barrel. To do this, we just need a puller MK2 and Mark II that can pull from a distance. And so we'll put that in there. And as soon as that happens, that seed gets pulled and gets inserted into the barrel. Once we have a sender card. And this sender works just like the puller Mark I. However, it is, it's simply going to send to the inventory that you set the destination for. So I place that there, and there we go. There's our barrel. To speed this process up, we can also make speed upgrades. And we can do 9 times 4 since we have 4 of these, and that will get us the exact amount that we're going to need. These can only accept 9 speed upgrades each, and we can shift right click to place those in. And there we go. Wireless item routing that is powerless. It doesn't cost any power either. The only thing it'll cost you is a little bit of sanity and potentially TPS issues if you use this a lot. But now we have our first seed, or we have an earth seed. The first thing that we can do with this is place it down and notice it is going to grow, and it is growing quite quickly. Once it does its first growth phase, yeah, I mean, this is a pretty fast way of growing it. But like I said, that red fertilizer, once those are all in, it makes it grow significantly faster. And we can actually see how much faster. Like it is significantly faster than without it. And I'm sure there are other methods too, but honestly, this has always been fast enough for me. I know you might be thinking, Chosen, aren't you going to need to farm up some mystical agriculture essence? And yes, we are going to make regular mystical agriculture seeds, but we have so much Inferium essence built up just from the quarry. It's kind of ridiculous. And not only that, we have tons of prosperity shards, like a lot of prosperity. And thankfully, mystical has been made like quite easy for us, because usually we will have to go through quite a lot of hoops in order to upgrade our essence. But in this, we don't have that wild mod that makes you go through each tier. Instead, we simply have a regular infusion crystal, which we're probably going to need like a couple of these. And then, yeah, our goal is to make a master infusion crystal. So I'll just blaze through a couple of these infusion crystals, upgrading it all into the next tier. And as soon as we get through a few of them and we run into our last crystal, that's when I'm just going to start upgrading these, because this, I don't even think we will go through a base tier crystal. Maybe. We're getting close. But yes, it did make it all the way through into Supremium. Look at that. And as soon as we make the Supremium gemstone, we have the ability to make the master infusion crystal, which is great because what it allows us to do is now craft this with blocks, saving us a lot of time. And then I can make myself a compacting upgrade, and all of this that we have stored in here, well, if I put this in, toggle it off because I didn't want it compacting all of that stuff, we can go into the settings and we can say only allow this to be compacted. Then I can toggle it back on. And the only thing that should get compacted up into blocks is Inferium. And this makes getting all of the essence we could ever want super easy. By the way, another little quick tip when it comes to applied energistics. If you're crafting multiple things like this, you can actually hold down space and click, and it's going to craft all that it has the ability to craft all in one go and fill your inventory with it. Pretty cool. And saves you a lot of clicking. Now we're at the point where we can actually set up the harvester pylon. So this is how we're going to harvest everything and collect and store things. So the harvester pylon, we waterlog it. It just gets placed right into here. And then we set this to cover a 9x9 area. And then a little trick that you can do in this particular pack, even though if this ever gets fixed in the future, I would recommend using like an All The Modium hoe or a Supremium hoe. But you can turn this into a silent tools hoe, and whenever it fully breaks, it still will continue to work. But it does require a hoe, and typically it would consume said hoe. And then we just place an inventory directly on top, and notice it is already harvesting and placing it inside of this barrel. Now, something I do recommend is using a void upgrade, and we want to technically void off this fertilized essence. I'm going to let a little bit build up because it does have a use. It kind of works as a bone meal, but it is going to be best to void this down the road. For all is said and done, for right now, we'll just do 2 stack upgrades each. This will hold 16,000 in each slot. And eventually we'll be able to upgrade these. I mean, we could technically upgrade these, but the goal would be to get them to netherite. So now for the hardest and most tedious part of mystical agriculture and getting these resources set up. That is actually crafting the seeds. It's not that it's really hard, it's just that it is kind of tedious, but something that can definitely help is utilizing JEI to its full potential. And some ways that we can do that is we can do @mystical to kind of highlight mystical. We can do space, and then we can start to search inside of its lore. To do this, we can do the money symbol there, and then we can say tier, and then space 1. And so what this is doing is this is looking through it, and you can see where it says tier 1. It is searching that, and these are all of the tier 1 seeds. And this is going to make it a little easier because we know that all of these are going to need Inferium essence. And so this allows us to go through each of these seeds, grab out the individual things that we're going to need, or highlight the things that we're going to need. Like I can go, okay, we need this, or I can just highlight the seeds, put them over on the side, and it'll make it so much easier so we don't have to continue with this search box being up. Also, we don't want to forget our elemental base seeds, which are going to be air. We already made earth, water, and fire. And because of this automation, we've made it a little bit easier on ourselves. We can throw in our essence on one side, and this makes it so we can just put all of our individual sets on the other side, and then just give it the seeds, the prosperity base seeds. So we'll throw those in here, and then we just kind of wait, or we can speed this up by accelerating it with our wand, making this particular process go a little faster. Now, after each seed craft, we are going to want to go into our quests and just make sure that we accept any of the quests that are available. I think before we can accept any of these, we have to make the base farmland, and then we can gather all of these seeds. And we have a chance of getting some of the other higher tier seeds that we may not need to craft in the future. And crafting that farmland is really easy. It's just dirt and that particular essence, by the way. So pretty straightforward. After doing all of that, let's see. Did we get lucky? We got stone seed, air seeds, ruby seeds, Certus quartz seeds. That's kind of nice. We also got mithril, pulsating alloy, and black quartz seeds, and more Inferium. So this is why I said, like, now we don't have to craft Certus seeds, for example. Oh, and this does set off a chain, right? Yes, now we got blaze seeds, so I don't even have to make blaze seeds. That's crazy. We got darkstone seeds and also redstone seeds. And then we completed even more, so we just got rabbit seeds, and then the rabbit seeds being complete gave us spider seeds. I mean, it's just a chain. It just keeps on going. Conductive alloy seeds. Okay, and then what else? Another rabbit seed. So the train stops there. With tier 1 seeds done, I get to go around placing all of the seeds in one by one. I did add some lighting on the outside just to make sure all of these spots have enough light for crops to be planted in. By the way, just in case you were wondering, you do see these are still being farmed, and if we look down in here, yes, the hoe is broke. Just like your mom. But anyways, we need to dive deeper into this, so I am going to pull all of these Inferium out. And yes, we're moving on to the next tier. And there are some seeds in here that we don't need. For example, this is a region's unexplored seed. Yeah, it doesn't have any uses, so we're definitely skipping it. For tier 2, it seems like nature seeds, dye seeds, nether, coal, honey, amethyst, silicon, sulfur, aluminum, grains of infinity, and also mineral are probably some of the best seeds to get. Look, while I was working on getting everything together, a Gibble spawned. This is Garchomp, I do believe. Yeah, this thing turns into a little tiny Wingmon. Okay, I gotta catch it. Okay, let's see. False swipe. I mean, it's level 8. Honestly, I probably can just throw balls at this guy. Right. This one's not gonna be a problem. Unless it has a really low catch rate. Then false swipe could have helped. Nah, we're good. We're completely good. And I think that might be an ultra rare on the Pokénav. Yep, it's definitely an ultra rare for the area. By the way, to get Grains of Infinity, yes, which we are going to use for the Grains of Infinity seed, just simply light them on fire, or light Bedrock on fire. This is going to grant us those grains, which we are going to need for Ender IO. It seems really weird, but as soon as they die out, it sounds like popcorn going off and you get grains. And so, just like before, there we go. We are now producing all the tier 2 seeds. With all those complete, we might get something else. Chicken, we got some more grains, sulfur, sheep, armadillo. We're getting a lot of animal seeds, which those are honestly, in my opinion, some of the hardest ones to make. Now, back to Garchomp. I think that's our first dragon type we've caught, by the way. Anyways, back to the seeds. Darkstone seeds for tier 3, iron, of course, copper, nether quartz, glowstone, redstone, obsidian, prismarine, skulk. All these are going to be definitely worthwhile. Tin. Bronze seeds we'll have to get to zinc, brass seeds, silver, lead, graphite, and skystone. The bronze and the brass, these all require compressed blocks, like at least tier 1. And to make this, though, it's all doable via dust. And we can make all of these dusts quite simply by just using our hammers we have. In reality, as far as ingots goes, we're only going to need a little over 5 stacks of the actual stuff. So making 6 stacks is more than enough. Now, quick tip on the prismarine shards, we can actually break these down into some base components, making getting the prismarine shard set up a whole lot easier. I mean, look at that. How convenient is having this pulverizer? It's already coming in handy. Now on to craft tier 3. Oh boy. All of this stuff, we are progressing quite quickly. Man, this is so satisfying to watch when you're accelerating it. Look how cool that looks. And now time for another round to see what all we get from our seeds. Come on, give me something good. Look at all of those complete. And we get ourselves glowstone, we already have. Azure seeds, copper seeds, darkstone, we have all of those. I crafted. We got zombie seeds and then crimson seeds. Interesting. So nothing super duper helpful there. And another brass seed, which we already have. And with this one farm, I almost had enough room to get all the way up to the last tier 3, but we are going to have to move to our other farm, and I'll go ahead and place this in. And now a tier 4 and 5, which there's far fewer seeds in those tiers. Now, as far as tier 4 and 5 seeds go, gold, lapis, ind, steel, there's also nickel, all of our base metals all the way up through uranium, solium, solarium, osmium, fluoride, fluex. We also need diamond, netherite. This goes into tier 5, platinum, and also draconium seeds. All of these should be rather simple to make, except for the ones that are like constantan. Like we've got to basically alloy these with dust. I think though some of the best seeds and best seeds to get up and running as quick as possible is steel seeds. Steel is used so much in many mods, especially the one we really want to get into, which is going to be Oratech. Oh, and by the way, I know we haven't gone to the end yet, but end seeds are definitely doable. To be able to make end seeds, yeah, and make end stone, we can easily make it like this, or we can use our R's method too. Now, if you have applied energistics auto crafting, a quick tip for automating using these hammers, for example, well, so long as you turn on substitutions enabled, this will actually utilize hammers. You just got to make sure that you have a hammer craftable, and it should pull the ingredients out, but make sure you turn the substitutions off when you're done setting these crafts, because you don't want it to use planks or what have you that you don't necessarily want future recipes to craft. Just to show how this works, 324, it's going to say it's going to use 5 of those picks, and we can see how all of this is functioning. Got all of the ingredients ready to go, and so here we go again. This time we are crafting up tier 4s, and then we'll be crafting up tier 5s. Tier 4s out of the way, lots of things are going to be popping here. Let's just go back into the mystical agriculture section, and then we'll be able to see what we've gotten rewards for. Okay, so we got ruby. Refined obsidian is one we didn't have. Not too bad. Electrum, we got nickel. Refined glowstone also we didn't have. Fiery and Constantan. Interesting. So not too bad. Getting the refined glowstone and also the refined obsidian is kind of a nice mechanism pull. The last few for now that I can at least craft, that is going to be the tier 5s. And this includes like draconic and all kinds of other stuff, diamond. But most importantly, we are going to be getting netherite seeds, which is probably the craziest out of all of them. And I just so happened to run out of prosperity seeds. But there we go. Yes, netherite seeds are absolutely ridiculous. Like the fact that the essence just gives you like a solid netherite is just so worth it. With them all crafted, let's now see some of the final rewards we got. And we got night metal. Okay, interesting. Niotic crystals, not too bad. And vibrant alloy. So yeah, these are all definitely getting placed down. Well, besides the night metal, I don't really need Twilight Forest materials. And honestly, the hardest part of mystical agriculture now done. I think that's really nice. All of our materials are now built up in here. And really, the thing we should do is we should tap into this setup with our applied energetics system. Now branching down, we'll use some dense cable and we'll get that routed, and that way I can just hook up some regular ME cables that's going to run through here. Now so our system can see this whole thing, I place this on here and I want to set this to extract only so we don't ever send anything into it. And now our system should be able to read from here, and we can set up auto crafts now that allows us to use these essences. Later on, I think it'd be really cool when we get some wireless functionality with AE through extended AE to hook it up here and then have just a singular cable running down the center so we don't have this jank line running out the side. This is the point where things feel pretty awesome, because now we can go out and explore, and we know that back home all of our resources are still being generated, and it shouldn't feel like potential progress is being lost by doing that, which is something that I suffer from, but that's besides the point. FOMO might be real, but I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Is mystical agriculture one of your favorite resource generation mods? And if not, what is your favorite resource generation mod? There's a lot of them, from bees all the way to llamas, technically. I've even seen, yeah, Bisco made a mod that llamas spit resources. So yes, let me know down in the comments below. I'd really love to know. Now, I think the only thing that can make these farms better is by putting an agronomic source link on this bad boy and generating a ton of source for Ars Nouveau. But that'll have to wait for another episode, because today we're just simply all out of time. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you learned something new about mystical agriculture. And if you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And of course, don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up as well. And guys, without further ado, it's time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks is going to go out to The Walking Dead 1231. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible, gaining access to all kinds of fun stuff, including supporter servers. So definitely be sure to check out the Discord down in the description below. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.